This is Holy Trinity Anglican Church, Vancouver. In the book we've just finished, as part of our Lenten study, Melvin Tinker describes G.K. Chesterton as having his own inimitable way. I concur, and as an example, I will cite what he wrote in 1925. At least 5 times the faith has, to all appearance, gone to the dogs. In each of these 5 cases, it was the dog that died. Please turn to Psalm 126, page 605 in the Church Bibles. You'll see that, as with the ones around it, the psalm is headed A Song of Ascents. The Psalter is the Old Testament's hymnal. The Psalms were meant to be sung as part of Jewish worship, and indeed we, as good Anglicans, sing them to Anglican chant. The Venite is Psalm 95, and the Jubilate is Psalm 100, and we also sing metrical, more hymn-like versions, such as All People that on Earth do Dwell. The usual headings the NIV provides, in italics, are added by the NIV's editors. They aren't part of the original text. But the annotation, A Song of Ascents, is part of the original Hebrew text. It's applied to Psalms 120 to 134, which was sung ascending Mount Zion to worship at the Jerusalem temple. Psalm 126 refers back to a particular time of worship. Jerusalem had been overrun in 587 BC and its population taken into exile. The temple had been done away with. 50 to 60 years on, the Israelites returned and were able to approach the temple once more. And Psalm 126 harks back to that. Verse 1. When the Lord brought back the captives to Zion, we were like men who dreamed. Our mouths were filled with laughter, our tongues with songs of joy. I know Tony likes to encourage us to be positive. In my rector's report, I said of the church's lockdown closure, it shook us out of what might be thought of as complacency. Thank goodness, thank God, that we're back. And we've got Holy Communion to look forward to on Easter Day. If they try to take church away again, well, I'll put up even more of a fight next time. In 1978, Boney M. sang, "By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. We wept when we remembered Zion. There the wicked carried us away in captivity, required from us a song. Now, how shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land?" The lyrics are derived from Psalm 137. That was then, when the Israelites were away in captivity. Now they get to return, and accordingly, they find their voice. When the Lord brought back the captives to Zion, we were like men who dreamed. Our mouths were filled with laughter, our tongues with songs of joy. The Catechism of the Roman Catholic Church says, the musical tradition of the Universal Church is a treasure of inestimable value, greater even than that of any other art. It goes on to quote Ephesians 5:19, address one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody to the Lord with all your heart, and St. Augustine, he who sings, prays twice. Do you remember what it was like when we were first allowed back? No singing. How unnatural was that? Now we can. Make the most of it, friends. Use it or lose it. I remember from camping tips, I think this was back in Australia, being told not to pitch your tent in a dry riverbed. Why not? Because however dry it might be, it's still a riverbed, and such things are known to spring back to life. Big time. Verse 4. Restore our fortunes, O Lord, like streams in the Negev. The Negev being a desert. By the time the psalm was written, things weren't looking so rosy. Maybe the temple was yet to be rebuilt and Jerusalem's walls restored. People were beginning to get a bit jaded. The joy of the return was wearing off. Remember, says the psalmist, remember when the Lord brought us back from captivity. Then it was said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. Verse 2. The Lord has done it once, and he can do it again. Restore, O Lord, the honour of your name. In works of sovereign power, come shake the earth again, that men may see and come with reverent fear to the living God, whose kingdom shall outlast the years. Restore, O Lord, in all the earth your fame, and in our time revive the church that bears your name. He's done it before, and he can do it again. Back to Melvin Tinker's book. In it, he quotes Os Guinness. Our hope in the possibility of renewal is squarely grounded, not in ourselves, not in history and the fact that it has happened before, but in the power of God, demonstrated by the truth of the resurrection of Jesus. The Lord is the protagonist of Psalm 126. Verse 1, when the Lord brought back the captives to Zion. Verses 2 to 4, then it was said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. The Lord has done great things for us, and we are filled with joy. Restore our fortunes, O Lord. And, as we know, nothing is impossible for God. Psalm 118, verse 23. The Lord has done this, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Verse 5. Those who sow in tears will reap with songs of joy. The NIV Study Bible says of this, an apt metaphorical portrayal of the joy already experienced and the joy anticipated. Isaiah says something similar. You will go out in joy and be led forth in peace. The mountains and hills will burst into song before you, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. Isaiah was anticipating the coming of the Messiah, who we know to be Jesus. As Os Guinness says, the power of God to renew is demonstrated by the truth of the resurrection of Jesus. Out of the depths of Good Friday comes the joy of Easter Day. Those who sow in tears will reap with songs of joy. Amen.
The rivers of fire.